There are places on Earth where nature feels ancient. And then there are places where nature feels aware. The Olympic Rainforest in Washington state is one of the wettest, densest, most unforgiving environments in North America. The trees don't just stand here, they loom. The moss doesn't just grow here, it consumes, and once you step off the trail, the forest doesn't chase you, it simply closes in. On October 12th, William Vanderbilt entered that forest alone. 6 days later, search teams weren't looking for a hiker anymore. They were preparing to recover a body, but what they found instead was something else entirely. The morning William left felt ordinary, too ordinary. Coffee steaming in a ceramic mug, backpack resting against the kitchen counter. Weather forecast. Rain likely, mild winds, nothing alarming. William double-checked his gear with the calm precision of someone who trusted preparation. Tent stakes, water filter. Map folded carefully in waterproof sleeve. Compass clipped securely. He paused before leaving, looked around his apartment. That strange human instinct when something inside you whispers, "Remember this moment." He brushed it off, locked the door, and drove west, toward the green. The Olympic Rainforest doesn't announce itself. It gradually surrounds you. The highway narrows. Mountains grow closer. The air becomes thicker, damp. When William stepped onto the Hoh River Trail, the forest felt peaceful. Massive Sitka spruce trees stretched hundreds of feet overhead. Moss draped from branches like curtains in a cathedral. Fern beds blanketed the ground in endless green. The air smelled of earth and cedar. He exhaled deeply. This is why he came. Solitude, stillness, silence. But silence in a rainforest isn't empty. It hums, tiny drops falling from leaves. Distant water trickling unseen, branches shifting high above, and beneath it all, an overwhelming sense of scale. He walked for hours, calm, confident, unaware that the forest was already changing. By early afternoon, the rain intensified. At first it was gentle, then steady, then relentless. Rain in the Olympic Peninsula doesn't fall like a storm. It saturates, clothes grow heavy, boots begin to sink, trail edges blur into surrounding growth. William's sleeves clung to his arms. Water dripped from his hood. He reached a section where the trail dipped low. Water pooled ankle-deep across it. A small decision stood before him. Backtrack half a mile, or step around the flooded area. He stepped off trail, 30 feet to the right, just enough to circle around. That was the moment, the invisible line, the boundary between hiking and being lost. He kept visual contact with the trail at first, but then fog drifted in, not thick enough to alarm, just enough to soften outlines. He stepped over a moss-covered log, circled wide, then turned back, and froze. There was no trail, no indentation in soil, no marker, no broken branches. Rain had erased everything. He spun slowly, trees in every direction, identical, massive trunks coated in green. The human brain searches for pattern, for landmarks, but rainforest repetition removes pattern. It becomes disorienting in a way that feels unnatural. He checked his compass. West. He started walking, calm at first, but something subtle had shifted. The forest no longer felt welcoming. It felt infinite. Hours passed. He expected to hear the Hoh River, the roar of water that would guide him back. But the forest absorbed sound. Every direction sounded the same. He walked over fallen trees, slick with moss. Nearly slipped twice. His thighs burned from climbing uneven terrain, energy draining faster than expected. By late afternoon, doubt crept in. He turned his phone on. No signal. Battery, 63%. He turned it off. Darkness fell quickly under canopy, faster than normal twilight. When he pitched his tent, he could no longer tell what direction he had come from. Inside the tent, rain drummed relentlessly. He told himself, "I'll fix this tomorrow." But deep down, he felt the first pulse of fear. When true darkness fell, it was absolute. No moonlight, no stars. The canopy blocked everything. The only sound was rain, and occasional distant cracks of branches shifting. He lay awake, every unfamiliar sound amplified. Was that movement an animal or imagination? Cold crept upward from the ground. Moisture seeped into sleeping bag insulation. His body shivered involuntarily. Shivering burns calories, calories he needed. By 3 a.m., he wasn't sleeping anymore. He was enduring. Morning brought no relief. Gray sky, heavy air, wet everything. He stepped outside the tent and saw only endless trees, no trail, no river, no sign of humanity. That was the moment he admitted it. "I'm lost." The word felt heavier than the rain. He could wander, or he could think. He chose to think. Survival isn't about speed. It's about conservation. He needed shelter, stable ground, protection from wind and water. He searched slowly, methodically, and found 2 trees standing close together. Between them, thick moss, deep, dense, like a living mattress. An idea formed. He gathered fallen branches, constructed a slanted frame leaning against one tree trunk, hands numb from cold, fingers stiff. He layered moss carefully, thick clumps first, then smaller patches filling gaps. Fern fronds woven across the surface. Rain hit the structure, but instead of splashing through, it absorbed. The moss swelled slightly, becoming heavier, more insulated. He crawled inside. It smelled rich and earthy. The sound of rain softened dramatically. For the first time since stepping off trail, he felt partially shielded. The forest that erased him was now preserving him. By day 3, food was gone. Every muscle felt weaker. Standing caused dizziness. When the body runs low on glucose, the brain suffers first. Thoughts slowed, memory faltered. He tried to calculate days mentally, lost track twice. He began speaking aloud. "Stay awake. Stay focused." Human beings are not designed for prolonged isolation, especially in sensory monotony. Time stretched, then compressed. He heard what sounded like distant rotor blades. Heart racing, he rushed outside. Nothing. Just wind. False hope can break a person. He forced himself back inside, back into the moss, back into waiting. By day 4, search operations intensified. Grid patterns expanded. Helicopters scanned breaks in canopy. Dogs struggled in rain-saturated terrain. Search leaders knew statistics. After 72 hours, survival odds drop sharply in cold, wet conditions. Family members were updated carefully, hope thinning, but not gone. William's body began conserving energy aggressively. Movements became slower. Shivering returned more violently at night, skin between toes breaking down from constant moisture. Minor infections forming on small cuts. He could feel himself fading, not dramatically, gradually. He whispered, "Just one more day." Morning arrived, cold and gray. He woke confused, briefly unsure where he was, then remembered. Forest, lost, weak, and then a sound, faint, mechanical. He held his breath. It came again. Rotor blades, not wind, not imagination. Real. He stumbled out of the shelter, nearly fell, grabbed his emergency orange poncho, the brightest thing he owned. He reached a small clearing near water, waved frantically. The helicopter passed. Silence returned. Then, it circled back, slower, hovering. A door opened. That pause saved his life. 3 hours later, ground teams reached him. They almost walked past the moss shelter. It blended seamlessly into the forest. One rescuer later said, "If he hadn't stepped into that clearing, we might not have seen him." They wrapped him in thermal blankets, gave him warm fluids, stabilized him, 6 days after vanishing. He left the rainforest alive. Weeks later, William reflected. The forest wasn't cruel. It wasn't violent. It was indifferent. And indifference is terrifying, because it means survival isn't guaranteed. It must be earned. The moss that nearly hid him forever saved him. And the lesson he carried out: never underestimate quiet places. Because sometimes the most dangerous environments don't roar, they whisper and wait. If you want the next story, subscribe now so you don't miss the next survival story.